Andrew Loeb with the Des Moines Register. Coach, can you talk about, with what happened with Penn State, is how hard would it be to run a program with so many fewer scholarships and things like that? What kind of challenges would that be?
You know, I haven't thought about it. I really don't know, and that probably was going to be my opening statement if I really give one. And that is, you know, there's a lot of things going on in our society today, and whether it happens to be what you're addressing or things that have taken place in Colorado, etc. That's not why we're here. We're here about, for me, it's about Kansas State University, about the young people who play the game for us, and it's about the Big 12 Conference. And I really, for the rest of it, I'm not interested in investing time in.
Question on the outside left. Right, correct. Sorry.
Coach Snyder, D. Scott Friction, Power Kid Illustrated. Right over here on the
right.
You're right.
During the summer, you'd spoken a time or two about expectations, and after being picked 8th in the Big 12 last season, K-State finished second. Now coming off 10 wins, K-State enters picked to finish 6th in the league. Just your thoughts on that spot, and do you feel like your program does its best when it's considered somewhat of an underdog?
I'm not altogether certain. I think, if you look back at last season and we moved up maybe 6 slots, I just hope that we can do something similar to that. For us, that's, I don't think, really significant. How do I deal with it? Probably not the same way that young people in the program do. Do we perform better as quote-unquote underdogs? That I don't know. I haven't seen any statistics in that regard. Last year, obviously, we played reasonably well in those circumstances. I have a greater concern about game by game when you are perhaps selected as favorites involved. I think that's, as any coach probably would say, that's where your greatest concern lies. Just not making sure that people don't take anything for granted, or as coaches, that we don't take anything for granted. You go back to last season and what was our mindset going into the very first ball game of the season when we played Eastern Kentucky and did not score a touchdown until 58 plus minutes of the ball game. And we're very fortunate to walk away with the victory. So one of the things that we have to be concerned about this coming season is that very simple concept of not taking anything for granted. And I think sometimes, underdog or favorite, the favorite goal is more complex because it's a little easier to kind of take it for granted. I think our youngsters have responded well in regards to maybe not so much dealing with the fact that they are an underdog or they're ranked lower, that maybe more so in the day-to-day improvement, just trying to compete every single day to get themselves a little bit better, and realizing the rest of it takes care of itself. However you want to be ranked, you've got to be willing to pay the price today in order to make that happen 6 months down the road.
Question on the front left.
Steve Hoggs with the AP. Coach, you've been in this league a long time. In the last 2 years, we've been in this room talking about where this league was going, what was going to happen this league. Can you talk about the difference in perception today as opposed to the last couple of years, and maybe even to years past on where this league is perceived and where you see the stability of it?
Well, I think it's the state of the conference right now, if there is such a thing in college football. I think it's quite obvious that the universities that make up the Big 12 Conference today are heavily committed to the conference. I think we lost 2 very fine universities and programs, but we gained 2 extremely talented football programs and quality universities as well. rankings. Two incoming universities are ranked right up in the top 10 or top 12 in the country. So it indicate that there is a national perception that they are quality programs as well. I think we're an extremely solid conference, and I appreciate the leadership. I have an awfully strong feeling. I appreciate Chuck Nyman stepping in and taking some time out of his life to help with our conference. Having Bob Bowlesby added as our new commissioner, I think has been a very, very positive step. A very quality person, and strong leader as well. So, again, I think we're very stable conference.
Question in the center, about halfway back.
Will Parson from the Way Coach of Maryland. Coach, if you could just kind of discuss the maturation of Colin Klein last year, and just kind of how he came along, and did it surprise you at all how quickly he kind of seemed to take to the offense?
First of all, I'm too old to be surprised. And, with my age, you've seen an awful lot of things take place over a period of time. And I really don't. I just, believe it or not, it's not my modus operandi to place expectations on guys in regard to the performance level. Colin's a wonderful young person. He has made tremendous improvement during his time in the program. And it's happened because of the quality of person that Colin is. Colin is one of those young guys that we were talking about a moment ago. He's one of those young guys that is truly committed, not just lip service to it, he is truly committed to becoming better every single day of his life, in all facets of his life. He's a very faith-based young guy and works diligently to improve his plight with his faith every day. He's a tremendous family man, and he works diligently every day to become a little bit better family man, to try to be a better person, and et cetera, and certainly to become a better football student athlete. And he works diligently at trying to improve his skills, and consequently does. And I think and it was evidence as you watched him progress through the course of the season, and what you have seen him for the past 3 years and seeing his involvement is really, it's a way of life for all young people in the program to be. We have a lot of young guys that have that same kind of commitment to that daily improvement that Colin does. But he's a shining example of that.
Question on the outside, right. Hi, Coach. Tyler Dryden with GoPowerCat.com. The Big 12 obviously is a league full of good quarterbacks. There's 5 guys on the O'Brien watch list. How tough is it to play in a league that has so many weapons at that position?
Well, it is, in my experience, excuse me, particularly since coming back, is that the league has evolved to a certain degree. To be able to, as we say, spread the field and throw the ball around, and we've got quality people doing it. Extremely talented quarterbacks in this conference, and talented offenses collectively. Some great wide receivers who come through the league here of late, and I can't put it on a scale of how complex it is and how difficult it is, other than to say it is extremely difficult. Statistically, we look at passing stats in the conference, and they're extremely significant. You look at defensive stats in the Big 12 conference, and they're significant in the other way as it relates to defending against the pass, or we had our issues with that as well. So, quality players and good systems really make it a very complex preparation week in and week out. Good football team, all good players.
You still have a question?
Sean Farley, Kansas State Collegian. Tyler Lockett, your sophomore receiver, coming back from an injury. He's also on the preseason on Big 12. How's his recovery been going, and how do you expect him to make an impact coming off an injury that debilitated in the last part of the season?
Well, I think what is overlooked perhaps, we had 15 days of practice in the spring, and on the 15th day was our spring game, and Tyler didn't play. And the perception, probably, I can't speak for you, but the perception was probably that he was still recovering from an injury that occurred during the course of the season, which indeed was not the case. Tyler participated in the first 14 days of practice, didn't participate in the spring game because of a hamstring, not seriously injured, but he just didn't want to take any chances in that ball game. So the answer, I guess, is that he is recovered fully, and I think is having a productive summer as well, and should be well prepared to play.
Outside left.
Bill, Tim Griffin with the San Antonio Express News. You've been in this league since the very beginning and have seen it evolve. Have you changed your philosophy about recruiting Texas, and is it any easier to get into the state to recruit players now than it might have been when you guys first started off back in the mid-90s?
Well, right now, my feeling is probably a little bit more difficult, and I say that with this in mind. There's probably some other reasons for that, but the calendar, the recruiting calendar is kind of upside down. If you look at it today, you think you're printing in your newspapers and et cetera, radio, broadcast, TV broadcasts, et cetera, commitments from young people. And you look at most programs throughout the country, and they've got 20 commitments and 18 commitments, et cetera, et cetera. And you go back a decade ago, and that wasn't the case. You didn't have any commitments, and you were still waiting for young people to play their senior year in high school and be able to, I don't know, make those kind of decisions a little bit later in their career. And plus, the other thing that has taken place is because of the kind of the way it's been approached, the opportunity to really get to know young people, and for them to get to know you, and you to get to know their families, and their families to really get to know you, has become more and more difficult. And those decisions are made before all those things can take place. Yes, young people can come to your campus, but you can't go into their homes, et cetera, until whenever the date comes up during the senior season. So you don't have the time or the format really to get as close to young people and their families as you used to be able to before those decisions were made. And I haven't got it all figured out yet. That's falls on my shoulders, but it's really, it's complex, I think, very difficult. So I think it's harder now